Welcome back to the swap. If you guys have been following along, you know that the engine is in and I'm trying to wrap it up. But in my last video, I covered some of the issues that I've been having, and primarily the big issue being the radiator and the charge pipe clearance. Now, I want to go back to this for a second because some people have come up to me and talked about doing custom charge pipes. And I have absolutely considered this before, but that's not going to work, or well, could work, but it's not the best option. And I'll tell you, there's actually a few reasons. Now, this is not an issue of routing, it is an issue of clearance. So you could change the charge pipes and reroute them, but it's not gonna help because there's just too many problems with clearance. You're touching here, 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 and here on the radiator. It's not gonna work. And I've talked about if you didn't have an AC condenser, you could just make it work. But if you went the custom charge pipe route, let's say, if you wanted to do that, you would have to drastically reduce the diameter of this. So you'd have to really shrink this down to basically an inch in order to get that to actually work. And at that point, you're adding more constriction, and custom charge pipes on their own are fairly expensive, and you need new couplers, new clamps. Quick note while I'm editing, hope you guys like my temporary studio. One of the solutions that was brought up had to do with the charge pipes. And as I just discussed, it's not really worth it, and it wouldn't be worth my time. It would take many hours, and for me, it's much easier to just work on a job, buy a radiator, forget about it. But another possible solution people kept bringing up to me had to do with the horn. And I want to clarify, the horn has nothing to do with the clearance. And even if it was an issue, it would be extremely easy to just relocate it. Also, I do appreciate everybody just chipping in to help out. So thank you. Really, the radiator route actually makes a lot more sense because it's very simple because it's drop-in, bolts right up, and it's not that expensive. I get parts for wholesale, so I got an aftermarket radiator, OEM AC condenser, combined $500. And also the other benefit with that is you get a nice, shiny new setup. I'm a big fan of the aluminum look, so honestly, I'm just glad to have a nice fresh appearance as well. Parts are ordered, and I'm waiting on this stuff up front. So while that's coming, there's a few other things I can put together, throw my center console in, a few other miscellaneous things. And there's actually something that got brought up to my attention recently that I want to talk about, having to do with the charge pipes, well, in a different area. And that is, you need to tap in for a new sensor. Looking at these side by side, the SI has 2 sensors and the Type R has 1. So that means that this is going to be drilled, put in a spot for a new sensor, and that's something else that can be done. I think that it's worth mentioning at this point that even once the car is running, I won't be able to drive it. And that comes down to the fact that I'm still waiting on axles. And I'm having AKD make my axles, and I really don't want to get into this too much, but I was told 6 weeks originally, and it's been about 11 now. And I've been trying to talk to the owner, and he's been extremely rude. And I found a lot of really sketchy stuff about this company after I placed an order. And at this point, I'm just worried that I'm getting scammed. And I don't want to be in a situation where the car is just going to sit on the lift ready to go, but doesn't have axles, so it can't drive. So I don't have an ETA. They wouldn't give me an ETA. They wouldn't give me pictures. I don't have much information. So I don't know what to expect with the axles. And although the whole assembly is generally there, it might not be ready for a while depending on when the axles come in. So just gonna have to wait on that and see what happens. Now, after just a few days, I already have the radiator, condenser, and this is the custom clutch line that Tony sent me. Instagram on screen. Thank you again to Tony. This is gonna run from the master cylinder all the way down and around to the slave cylinder, and this is gonna solve the issue with the 2 different size fittings, and it's all stainless steel, so it's nice and strong and pretty. now that I have this stuff, the next thing I want to do is get this old radiator, now that I have this stuff, the next thing I want to do is actually take the old radiator out, put this one in, and hopefully we'll find out if this solves the fitment issue. Got a nice view here of the front of the engine. And now, look at the size difference on these two. So here's what I was talking about. You could see the SI radiator is actually a couple inches wider, but because this is aftermarket, it's nice and thick, and this should help us prevent us from running into any overheating issues. So that is all out, and like I mentioned before, I have the AC condenser here, so this shouldn't give us any problems, but the Type R uses a 2-fan design and the SI uses 1 big fan. So what I'm gonna try to do is trim off the ends and then make brackets and try to mount this fan onto this radiator. But what I'm gonna do before that is actually put this in and test fit it, make sure it all fits, and most importantly, check the intercooler routing and make sure that solves the issue. And also, this is what I was talking about in the last video, you could see this is your SI mount and this is your Type R radiator mount. So, big size difference. All right, moment of truth right here. Let's get this fitted up. See what our clearance looks like. So this will all be gone right here. So kind of ignore these right now because the whole routing is different. There used to be a fitting right here. Now that's over there. So these hoses are going to get changed. Boom. Look at all that room. There you go, just like that. We got all the room in the world. Obviously, AC condenser is gonna go here, and then you're gonna have your fan back here, but we should still, also again, keep in mind, all these hoses aren't gonna be here anymore. We should have plenty of room, which makes sense, because these are basically all Type R parts at this point, and they're meant to work together. And nice and shiny. It is hot, it's really hot. 84 in this room right now. I turned the fans off so you guys can hear me because they'd be so loud, but it's hot. This will go just like that. And this will go to here. And that is money. Sweet. So a big question here is still how well will the fan mount on that, but I'm sure I can make it work. So that solves that issue, and the only question mark I'd still have here is how well will this fan fit if it has enough clearance, because obviously this is much thicker than this. So we'll still have to find out on that part, but I think I'll be able to make it work. You know what, I'm kind of in a rush here, but let's throw the fan in there, see how well it fits. Okay, so there's obviously going to need to be some trimming here and on the ends, but as it sits, it's not that far off. Again, trim, and then this should come in enough, and I think we'll be good on clearance. So as long as I can find a way to mount it, shouldn't be too big of a deal, and this looks good. I know it feels like every video I say I'm going to get the car started because I want to see it run as much as you guys do, but kind of forgot I'm leaving for a week, and I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So now I could put more in this video because this is a little short of a video that I would normally do. I would put more in, but if I were to wait till next week to pick this up again, add more clips by the time I edit and all that, you guys would be waiting like 3 weeks for a video. So I figure I'll post this update, let you know it fits, everything looks good here. I'll probably edit this while I'm away. And then when I come back, now that this all looks pretty good, the next step is gonna be getting this all cleaned up and mounting the fan on the radiator, I have to make mounts for the intercooler, I'm pretty sure, make some brackets for that. So charge pipes, and then set up the intake, and I think that is it. I think that's good. Back to the axle situation again, actually. I was talking to Tony about it and some of the issues I've been having with AKD, and Tony's engine, actually, he melted a piston because he had an issue with a clogged injector, and with no fuel, your engine overheats and it can get so hot that it melts the piston. So he melted a piston, he's building his motor right now. We were kind of talking and he brought up the idea, he could send me his axles that he had custom made, I could use his, and if I ever get mine, I could send them to him. Worst case scenario, if things don't work out with AKD, then I'll have Drive Shaft Shop make another set and then send those out to him. Worst, we'll see. Still in talks with him about that, but hopefully if I am in a situation, he might be able to send me his, be able to get the car on the road. And at this point, it is dangerously close to running. We are so close to starting it. And assuming no weird hiccups come up, I'm gonna come back after a week and I'm gonna sit down and this should be able to get finished, get it running. My schedule has been crazy lately, and with that out of the way, this is a big relief. So happy this looks good. And again, I'll be back after a week, get back to this. Thank you guys for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you wanna follow along, and see you in the next video with a running car.